Matt from the Random Maker here, and I'm going to be giving you 5 easy to use tips, hacks, tricks, however you want to call it, for your woodworking projects. And yeah, instead of me talking, let's actually just show you the 5. Your first tip, very simple. Always use a good marking device. When it comes to woodworking, I've gotten away from both carpenter's pencils and regular pencils for a couple reasons. Number one, on a job site, carpenter's pencils are awesome. They actually have some really cool uses. On a regular, like in my shop or any other places like that where I'm trying to be more precise, I just find they're not accurate enough for me. On the other hand, regular pencils, I don't really see when there's a lot of sawdust or a lot of stuff. It just, yeah, but I still want to use pencils so you can move stuff. So I've switched over to these mechanical ones myself because whether I am using a speed square or taking a measurement, I can see the line every single time and doesn't matter, it's always going to be accurate. Okay, let's move on. Okay, tip number 2. Let's look at you wanting to cut a piece of melamine or other pieces of wood that have a lot of chipping. And the problem is you don't have the super expensive cabinet blades or anything of those type of tools. And you're not going to do a lot of work for it, so it's not really worth getting. The tricks I used to use was very simple. Get a piece of masking tape, painter's tape, take a strip, and wrap your entire line where it's going to cut in painter's tape. Now, what I have found is you usually only have to do the bottom, but for how cheap painting tape and masking tape is, I tended, unless it was a huge piece, to just wrap it right around. Now, what this does is it prevents the wood from being easy to chip. So even when the blade's cutting, you don't get as much splintering or chipping. Now, is it perfect? No. Let me be very clear. Is it 100 times better than no tape or masking tape? Yeah, 100 times better than that. Okay, let's move on to the next tip. Tip number 3, let's talk about glue. Now, glue works best when you have 2 even surfaces that are perfectly flat that mirror together. Now, one of the big things about gluing is having a nice glue spread, because if you get little pockets, bubbles, and stuff like that, that's when it kind of doesn't get as nice. So we have a rough piece of wood here, but it's just for demonstration purposes. But one of the things I've found is I don't tend to use any commercially available tricks. And the reason for that is very simple. Unless you clean it perfectly every time, you only get a couple of uses out of them. And it's just, they're more pain than worth, I've kind of found, because I do this. So what I do is I get a bottle, and I always buy the kind that have like a square head on the inside. It lays it already pretty flat. Don't necessarily need to do it, but it works for me. And what I do is I just put my finger on here, and then I just barely touch the glue, and I just run my finger along behind. And if you go nice and easy, we can see right here, there is a really even glue spread. Now, if you're careful, I have a tiny bit of glue on my finger. I just kind of wipe it off, rub it in a little bit. And the amount of glue left on my finger, I usually kind of rub my hands together, and the heat will usually get the rest off. And yeah, or I could wash my hands, but a lot of the time I'm going to get dirty anyway till the end of the day. So I just kind of go with that. And there you go. Your next tip. If you want to make sure your wood has the best chance of not splitting, or if you want to sink your screw underneath the level of the wood so you can hide it with a wood fill, you're going to want to use a countersink. Now, what this does is it has a thinner drill bit than your screw. You can buy different sizes and all that, so make sure you're using the right size for your screws, because you can drill too big and the screws are useless. And it also has an auger on the top that's basically where your screw head is going to sit in. This does 2 things. Number 1, less chance of splitting. Number 2, hides your screw, so if you are building something permanent, you can bury it with wood fill and glue. Okay, that's a super simple one. Let's move on. Okay, for your last tool tip of the day, you need a hole to fill, and you don't want to buy or don't want to run out to get wood filler. Okay, here's a really cheap, easy, and good one. Okay, you grab sawdust out of the table saw, like where it sits, or your dust collection system, however you're getting rid of your wood dust, and you mix it in with wood glue. That's it. Actually, it works really well. The wood glue fills up a lot of the void. The glue is glue. It works really well, and you can't distinguish it under coats of paint. If you can see it, that's where you have to be a little more distinguishing how it's going to look. But I would argue it's no different than if you're using wood filler anyway. Okay, well, there you go. Hopefully those 5 tips and tricks were helpful for you. If you liked that or this kind of video, why don't you hit the like button? Even better, if you want to see all the new content coming out, we put out 1 video a week. Check out to subscribe to the Random Maker. If you have any ideas, comments, if you want us to build something in particular, why don't you put it in the comments below? Get a hold of us. We have our email on our website. And Well, I guess I'm done talking for today. So, Matt from the Random Maker saying, let's get making.